Howdy folks, I'm gluttonous great spangled fertility, greedily grabbing giant greens.
I'm Amber.
And here are more giant greens for us to grab. Turns out that it wasn't a giant green, it was a giant green giant. And that did not go so well for me personally, because the green giant was not happy about the butterflies. But let's get started. Alright folks, and our first letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Refusing to Cook for My Husband After He Rated My Meals Like I'm on a Cooking Show? So, I'm a 29-year-old female and my husband, a 32-year-old male, have been married for 3 years. I do most of the cooking in the house, which is fine. I actually enjoy it, and I grew up in a big family, and I learned to cook from my mom and my grandma. I would say that I'm a decent cook. Like, I make home-cooked meals 5 to 6 times a week. Nothing's fancy, but I put in the effort. Anyways, about 2 weeks ago, my husband started doing this little thing where he rates my meals. Like, he'll eat a little bite and say, I give this one 7.2. Last night's chicken was more flavorful. Or a solid 8, but could use more salt. Like he's Gordon Ramsay or something. At first, I laughed it off and thought that he was just joking, but he kept doing it every single meal. I asked him to please stop because it's kind of annoying, and I didn't like being reviewed like I'm on Yelp. He said that I was being too sensitive and that it was just his honest feedback, and he's trying to help me improve. I told him that this isn't Chopped, it's dinner in our own house. It all came to a head 3 nights ago when I made lasagna, which by the way took me 3 hours because I made the sauce from scratch. He then took one bite and went, 6.5. The layering could be better and is a bit dry. I just snapped. I told him that if he thinks that he can do better, then he can cook from now on, and I meant it. So since then, I haven't made a single meal. I told him that I'm on strike until he apologizes and stops treating me like some kind of contestant. He thought that I was bluffing, but nope. He's been eating frozen meals and cereal for the past 3 days, and now he's mad and saying that I'm being petty and overreacting. Some of our friends think that it's kind of funny and are on my side. His mom, don't say it, I already know, says that I am being immature and I should just take constructive criticism. So, Reddit, am I the jerk for refusing to cook because my husband won't stop rating my food like I'm on a cooking show? Or am I right for sticking up for myself? Alright folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk. If mommy wants to make him meals, she's more than welcome to volunteer.
Yep.
But he has been disrespecting OP. OP made it very clear that she does not appreciate this, and what he's doing is just rude and hurtful. Whereas he, if he wants to do this whole rating thing, then they should alternate nights, and he can make dinner every other night and let OP rate his food. I'm sure it's not going to live up to her standards, like if he's been doing no cooking this entire relationship.
Yeah, I mean, I think if he really wants to have the shoe on the other foot, then that might be a fun solution for OP. You know, the thing is that he needs to apologize, plain and simple, and I think that OP is not unjustified in their strike. And I think that may be what he needs to finally start to appreciate the food and cooking that he's been taking for granted. OP has been doing this out of love. They've been doing this out of kindness. And he has been treating OP terribly for that, right?
Right. Well, and can you imagine him doing this to anyone else? Like going to a restaurant and being like, telling the chef every single dish, oh, this needs blah, blah, blah. Or going to a dinner or his mom's house and eating mommy's food and being like, oh, this is a solid 6.5, the salt, not enough pepper, or something like that. Like, he wouldn't do that to anyone else. It shows how little he respects OP if he's perfectly fine insulting her cooking when he wouldn't do it to anyone else.
Yeah, I mean, this is just plain rude. And I think that he needs to grow up and apologize to OP. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Federal Road 7443 says, not the jerk, I'm just wondering what made him start doing this. As for his mom, make sure you do the same to her if you are invited over for a meal. When she gets upset, just innocently say, it's just constructive criticism. And OP replies, I wish I knew what caused it. And Motor Juggernaut 1009 says, my friend did something similar once after her husband dissed her cooking, and she didn't cook dinner again until he apologized, which was 18 months later. And that was when they also had 3 kids and both worked. No drama, just boundaries and consequences. They are still together many years later. And OP replies, oh my goodness. And Drowning in Cat says, oh no, not the jerk. He's being utterly rude and dumb and spoiled and a lot of other words. Stick to your guns or your pots in this case. Do not cook until he starts cooking and apologizes. And from now on, he needs to cook 2 to 3 meals a week. And Opie replies, we actually had an agreement like that years ago, but he didn't do his sometimes and I just let it go. I regret that now. I regret that for Opie.
Yeah. Well, now's a great time for him to step up again.
Yeah. Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Telling My Father-in-Law That He Can't Hump the Floor at My Place or in My Presence? The title is ridiculous and I wish it wasn't true, but here we are. Unfortunately, I'm asking because I'm possibly in the state of being gaslit, or I actually can't take a joke and I can't see it. My father-in-law, late 50s, is known for being very playful. Goofy, some would even say. Well, him, my mother-in-law, late 50s, and 3 siblings-in-laws, 20-year-old male, 27-year-old male, and 28-year-old female, married couple, came to stay with my husband and I at our home, 28-year-old female and 30-year-old male, to see our little one who is 7 months old. Well, the little one was put to bed and we were all in the living room hanging out, doing stretches, just casually talking, when father-in-law decided that it would be funny to start humping the ground out of nowhere. And unfortunately, it was directly in front of me, not mother-in-law. Mother-in-law and I looked at each other in shock, while his children laughed and chuckled. Father-in-law made it clear that the gesture was meant for his wife, despite it being directly in front of me with eye contact with me, so we dropped it. The night passed, they left town, and after a few days of not being able to shake the image from my head, I decided to talk to my husband about how uncomfortable it made me, along with the other sexual jokes that he made about all of us being married, etc. Well, there's been a big divide now on how I'm always ruining the fun, and how it's just a joke and not a sexual gesture, and how I'll always find a problem when my husband's family is in town. His family thinks this: when I speak with my mom, my sister, my cousin, and anyone on my side of the world, they see his joke and his gesture as totally inappropriate. My father-in-law tried to make the point that I've done TikTok dances in this house before with other sibling-in-laws, and my husband has never felt uncomfortable because he knows that they are harmless, and that it's not fair for me to judge him about this, knowing his intent, which he says was just to make a joke. My point is, even though I'm not on TikTok, and I don't post videos, everything I've done is postable. Him slow stroking the ground is not. My husband got mad at me for not seeing this as a joke, and so did the other married siblings who were in the room that were raised by father-in-law. So am I the jerk for saying that my father-in-law humping the floor in my home/presence made me uncomfortable and drawing that boundary? I genuinely would appreciate feedback because I plan on having another conversation soon, and I want to know that I'm coming into the conversation grounded in reality. All right, folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk. And what is the joke? Like, go to everyone who is saying this is a joke and ask them to explain the joke to you in detail, because I don't get the joke here. I do not see any joke here. I just see father-in-law using this as an excuse to be crude and inappropriate.
It's weird. I would want to see what his action was exactly, because I'm not sure that I can have the full mental picture of what he's exactly doing here.
I don't think I want the full mental picture.
I absolutely do want the full mental picture in all of its gratuitous detail. The thing is this: you don't get to decide what makes someone else uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And if OP didn't find this funny and was uncomfortable with it, then he should apologize and say, oh, I was just joking. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings here or make you uncomfortable, right? Couple that with all the other sexual jokes, and that starts to feel like a pattern of bad behavior.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't blame OP for being a little weirded out and sketched out by this, especially since this is kind of a pattern of this behavior.
Right, and I think it's perfectly fine to be like, hey, don't do these kind of things in my house. Like, this is, OP's husband should be on her side. Like, they should have come as a united front.
Mm-hmm.
But I understand why OP is so off-put by this and doesn't want it happening, and I'm just horrified that everyone seems to be defending him.
Well, the thing is that I think he's probably told crude sexual jokes since they were kids, if I had to venture a guess, and this may be just normalized behavior for them at this point in time. They may not realize or want to realize that this is actually not appropriate.
Then just be like, okay, well, if this is so appropriate, I'm filming everything that happens in my house from here on out.
Yeah.
I'm posting it to Instagram or TikTok.
Put security cameras up.
Because, like, I guess in the comments, he's like a deacon in the church or something. And so, like, he can't, like, the OP is making a big deal out of this and trying to hurt his reputation or something like that.
Yeah. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Individual Fall 429 says, when confronted, he revealed that he's always been sexually aroused by your TikTok dances. You do realize that, right? If you're trying to gauge if someone's behavior is weird, you don't ask people raised by said weirdos. They won't see it. And OP replies, noted, but can you explain the first part? I'm not seeing why he would be aroused. And Individual Fall 429 says, what he did was sexual and it made you uncomfortable. Then he compared it to you making him uncomfortable with your TikTok dances. He sees your TikTok dances as sexual. That's what I would infer from that exchange. And OP replies, goodness, wow, I didn't look at it like that. What do you think of that comment?
I mean, that's a good point.
I mean, I think that person really hit the nail on the head here.
Mm-hmm.
And Palette Burner says, this strikes me as him testing your boundaries on calling out sexual behavior. I would be concerned as a new mother. And OP replies, I actually very much am, so you're absolutely right. And WMM339 says, can I ask a follow-up question here? What do you mean by hanging around stretching? Were you all coming back from going out on a run or something like that? Or do you all just socialize while doing various mobility drills? And OP replies, one of the siblings is an athlete and was showing the family all kinds of new stretches. The family in general is pretty active, so it's pretty common to do stretches and things of that nature. And Slinky Splitter says, he made eye contact with you while humping the floor in front of you, and he has said and done sexually inappropriate things in the past, and you get mocked and blamed for voicing discomfort. Don't ever be alone with father-in-law. Nobody will believe you if he pulls something, and nobody will protect you. And OP replies, needed to be said, thank you for saying it, I will take heed. I mean, that person has a pretty good point.
Yeah. And that's a very important thing is like a lot of times these things start small to normalize it to people so that when something bigger happens, the, victim won't be believed and it'll be, oh, you're just blowing things out of proportion. You are misinterpreting this. That's not how it happened.
The slow erosion of boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And Aroma Shep says, not the jerk, and I would definitely have him explain what the punchline of the joke was. However, I'm stuck on the other jokes that he's made. What do you mean that he's made sexual jokes about us being married, as in all of you being married, and therefore hint, hint, wink, wink, or am I reading that wrong? Because what in the world? And OP replies, jokes like giving fellatio to our spouses. I mean, that's inappropriate. That's wildly inappropriate.
Mm-hmm.
Wildly, wildly, wildly inappropriate. All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, I'm a 27-year-old male and my girlfriend, a 25-year-old female, insists that cereal is soup, and now she started refrigerating it in Tupperware. Is this the beginning of something worse? I'm a 27-year-old male and my girlfriend, a 25-year-old female, insists that cereal is a soup, and now she started refrigerating it in Tupperware. Is this the beginning of something worse? Over the last 6 years together, we've always had small debates about food classifications, but nothing serious. She's on cereal is technically cold soup side of things, and I've never cared enough to argue, and honestly, I thought that it was just a quirky take. Lately, though, she started making cereal in advance and storing it in the fridge and labeled the Tupperware containers. She says that it infuses overnight and that the textures are more balanced once the milk has settled into the grain. This morning, she had 3 different containers. One said high crunch, one said mild soak, and the last one just said resting. I asked if this was a joke and she said no, she just is trying to optimize her breakfast workflow. I guess that makes sense, but also, why is there a spreadsheet? It's not a huge issue, but part of me wonders, is this how it starts? TLDR, girlfriend is meal prepping cereal and I'm getting suspicious. All right, folks, I'm going to read some of the comments, and I just want to be upfront that I don't believe a single word in this entire post. And Printed Lady says, does she have mental health issues, not being snarky? And OP replies, no, nothing diagnosable or obvious. It's more that I'm noticing behaviors that feels unusually specific or ritualized. Maybe it's just a quirky habit, but when small routines start accumulating details, it's not hard to pay attention. And Missy1726 says, that's weird. However, I have no real advice. Maybe just watch her and see if anything goes off? And OP replies, that's fair. I've been keeping informal notes, nothing detailed, just timestamps, container positions, and any new terminology she uses. No changes in eye movement patterns yet, but I've started correlating the soak times with her mood shifts. Could be nothing. And Awake says, what makes you monitor these details? Eye movement patterns? Does she have a history of mania? And OP replies, no history of mania or anything serious. I just pay attention to small habits, like how she arranges the cereal containers or where she puts the spoon after eating. It's probably nothing, but I like to notice changes just in case. And Poop Fandango says, sounds like you're made for each other, to be honest. And Just Me Raw says, every pot has its lid. And in reference to the, that's fair, I've been keeping informal notes, nothing detailed, just timestamps, container positions, and any new terminology she uses, no changes in eye movement patterns yet, but I've started correlating the soak times with her mood shifts, could be nothing. And The Wine You're With says, keeping notes about your partner's cereal habits is almost as over the top as keeping a spreadsheet about one's own cereal habits. Have you considered that the two of you might just be very compatible? Your unique brands of crazy seem to overlap pretty well. And Random Guy 81 says they just need a throuple relationship with someone whose spreadsheet catalogs their schedule variations of cereal types by the day of the week, with special cereals for holidays. And Detailed Giraffe says, this is much more disturbing than cereal soaking, which I tend to agree. And Lonesome Johnny Blue says, overnight oats are a delicious thing, but if she's soaking Captain Crunch, you've got problems, man. And Special Design 8894 says, if it's oats, it's fine. If it's cornflakes, what the fuck? And Special Design 8894 says, if it's oats, it's fine. If it's cornflakes, what in the world, man? It's either adorable or a psychotic break. No way to tell. All right, folks, what do you think?
I mean, this one is a pretty wild one. I find it interesting that OP has not answered any of the questions about whether it is cereal or oats. Like,
if it's oats, it's fine. If it could be like oats with like granola in it, which
well,
would
yeah,
be crunchy.
If you use granola, that adds the crunch. Like,
Yeah.
and if you're not soaking it in too much milk, it's not gonna get that soggy.
Yeah.
But you know, if you're pouring hard like they were saying Captain Crunch into milk and letting it soak overnight, like that's just gonna be mush.
I have never had a cereal last more than 5 minutes without disintegrating into the milk itself.
Yeah. Unless it's oats.
Yeah, unless it's oats, which oats kind of disintegrate into themselves anyways, right? I am hoping and praying that this is not real. That is all I can say here. Between her actually going ahead and soaking potentially Captain Crunch overnight or cornflakes overnight, and him tracking her movements and her spoon positions, I don't even know who's the more ridiculous one in this situation. I mean, I'm an eccentric, and this is eccentric.
Well, like I can't imagine like tracking your eye movements as you make cereal.
Yes, we'll track all of the eye movements while we make cereal. I don't even know. It's just so absurd. It's just a level of absurdity that I just can't even wrap my head around. And I'm all here for it. I love the absurdity, but I just hope it's not real. But folks, let's see what the Wheel of Judgment has to say. Wheel of Judgment, turn, turn, turn. Tell us the judgment that OP's earned. Therapy. Thank you, Wheel. Thank you, Wheel. I appreciate this. I appreciate you, Wheel, so much right now. So much. All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here, and Amber, she has a joke.
What's a horror enthusiast's favorite soft drink?
Ooh, I would say that a horror enthusiast's favorite soft drink is maybe a little Coca-Cola.
Scream soda.
Oh, Scream soda.
And it's National Ice Cream Soda Day
Mm.
and National Take Your Dog to Work Day.
Yeah, I would say statistically it would probably be Coca-Cola since that's one of the most popular beverages in the world. So statistically, I'm probably right.
I mean, I guess it depends on the horror enthusiast, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. It does. And I have licorice spice. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy, wonderful Friday. Friday, it is Friday. Wow, fantastic Friday. God, can you believe it, folks? We're at the end of the week. I can't believe it for sure. Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance, and please have it bizarre.
Almond milk is basically the blood of almonds. You're welcome for the visual.
There you have it, folks. There you have it. Wise words of wisdom from Amber. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.